Hello, we are from the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens, and we are here in the Colombo streets interviewing people regarding men's mental health. We'll see how it goes. Hi, who am I here with today?
Jack from Australia.
So we are doing this project regarding men's mental health. So what are your thoughts and opinions regarding that?
It's an interesting question. I think that men in particular keep their sort of thoughts and issues to themselves. So I would say that there probably is a mental health problem more in men than women in terms of internalizing things, not communicating it to others, which ends up leading to things like suicide, which is never good. So I think there are some challenges here. I think men are more likely to keep it to themselves, and I hope that we can get to a state where people are more comfortable.
ගොඩක් වෙලාට පිරිමි කියන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම ස්ට්‍රෝං ජාතියක් කියලා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සෝෂල් එකේ පොඩි concept එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ අනුව බැලුවට පස්සේ ඒ ගැන කතා වෙන අඩු ඇත්තටම. ඉතින් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මම කියන්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ පිරිමින්ගේ අපි පිරිමිය ඇතුළත් ඉන්නේ මිනිස්සෙක්. හරිද? ඒකට හැඟීම් feelings හැමෝටම පොදුයි. සමහරක් වෙලාවට ඒ පිරිමිය ස්ට්‍රෝං වෙන්න පුළුවන් නැත්නම් ස්ට්‍රෝං ලෙස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක එක්කෙනාගේ අර ෆැමිලි බෑග්ග්‍රවුන්ඩ් එකත් එක්ක හැදිච්ච විදිහ අනුව. ඒක අනිවාර්යෙන් දුක සතුට අර mentally health එක ගැන අනිවාර්යෙන් පිරිමිගේ කතා කරන්න ඕනේ.
Is there a place or a set of circle, like a set of people you would go to when you feel overwhelmed or pressured, or like, is there a way that you express that?
Yeah, I think most guys have a small group of friends where they're quite open with, and oftentimes they use humor to mask, traumatic experiences or issues. So I think if you don't have that small circle of friends, you're probably in for a bit of a rough time. That would be my thoughts. A small group of friends.
සාමාන්‍යයෙන් පිරිමින්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වෙනවා. මට දැනෙන විදිහට මගේ පෞද්ගලික එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එකත් එක්ක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ලව් බ්‍රේක්අප් එකක් ගත්තත් එහෙම කෙල්ලෙක් බ්‍රේක්අප් වුණාට පස්සේ දුක අහන ඕන තරම් කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. හැබැයි පිරිමි කෙනෙක් දුක කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් තමන්ගේ හොඳම යාළුවට එහෙම නැත්නම් සමහරක් විට එහෙම කෙනෙක් නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අර හිතේ තද කරගෙන ජීවත් වෙන කට්ටිය තමයි වැඩිපුර විඳින්නේ. ඉතින් එහෙම බැලුවට පස්සේ ඒක ඉතින් ඇත්තටම ඉතින් මේ ලෝකේ හැදිච්ච විදිය නේද?
And the last one, what's the message you have for all the men out there regarding their mental health?
I mean, I have a message, but I don't follow it myself because I'm not great at communicating it. But I think the message probably is, just speak up if you're having troubles, let people know, and if you don't have a group that you can lean on, go and find one. Would probably be my message.
අයියට මොනවද කියන්න තියන්නේ මේ පිරිමි මානසික සෞඛ්‍ය ගැන? අයියාගේ අයිඩියා එක මොකද්ද මේ අපිට වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට කොහොමද?
ඔව් අනිවාර්යයෙන් වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. අපි හැමතිස්සෙම පිරිමියෙක් විදියට කියන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම අපිට සමාජය ලොකුවට වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි පුළුවන් අපිට අපි වෙනස් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගැහැණියක් කෙල්ලෙක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කෙල්ලෙක්ගේ දුක අහන්න මුළු සෝෂල් එකම ලෑස්ති වුණාට පිරිමියෙක්ගේ එහෙම දුක අහන්න එහෙම ගොඩක් කට්ටිය කෙනෙක් ඒක ලොකුට මේව යන්නේ ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඉතින් ඒකට කරන්න තියෙන්නේ තමන් තේරුම් ගන්න එක තමයි. ඉතින් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් තමන්ගේ self confidence එක develop කරගන්න ඕනේ. හැමතිස්සෙම අර අපි දැන් දුකක් විඳුණාට පස්සේ ඒ දුක මැත්තේ මැන්න නැතුව මගේ සරලම දේ ඕන දෙයක් අර හිතන්න හොඳ නැහැ වැඩි. ඉතින් ඒ හිතන්න නැතුව තමන්ගේ පාඩුවේ ඉඳියනම් හරි. තමන්ට උනම් private psychologist කෙනෙක් හම්බෙලා ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වල විසඳුම් ගන්න තමන්ට අඩි තමන්ෙන් අර උසස් කෙනෙක් එක්ක කතා කරලා මානසික නිදහසක් ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක වටිනවා. ඉතින් ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒ කෙනාගේ ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඒ විලාවෙන් නිදහස් වෙන්න හේතුවක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
So with that video being shared, thank you, Ilham. So that is, I believe, a crucial thing that again a lot of people neglect, as you can see. So with that being said, I want to ask you, many of the people we spoke to here mentioned that men often tend to keep their stress and pressure to themselves. What actually happens when someone keeps everything bottled up for too long, and how can they begin to change that habit in a healthy way?
First of all, I love that video. It's been a while since I've seen such an influential video. It's just two guys talking about their perspectives on this in two different languages, but both were actually on point about it, like the helplessness feeling towards it, and you don't know where to reach out to. And they themselves know this is unhealthy, but they are not practicing what they are preaching either. Like they know what's going on wrong, but they are unsure how to work on it. Right? That's, I think many are stuck in that. No, I see quite a few guys joining here as well, but at the same time a lot of girls as well, because I know they have their partners or siblings or their parents who are going through this as well. They would like to get to know more about this, but all of us know what's unhealthy and healthy, but we are unsure like how to work on the healthy stuff and how to get out of the unhealthy part of it, right? See, Sean, now if we are to think ourselves as this monk, right? This monk, this is our mind. All the emotions that we feel, this could be sadness, this could be happiness, anger, frustration, disappointment, disgust. There are so many different types of emotions. What would happen if we just keep filling this mug up? There'll be one day it will be filled to the rim, and just teeny tiny drop would be enough for this to overflow. That's where anger comes out, right? See, the more we keep a lot of emotions in, our brain cannot identify which emotion is which, right? Our brain doesn't have a language. Our language is our behavior, how we act it out. So the more we keep these things in, these emotions in, everything becomes like a fruit salad. And when you're supposed to feel sad, anger comes out. When you're supposed to feel angry, tears wells up in your eyes, right? Sometimes I have many cases where even when they talk about something happy, their eyes just tear up. When it comes to disappointment, disgust, frustration, usually with men, it's mostly either the anger part that comes out or complete withdrawal and isolation. Because why? The anger is also seen as toxicity and unhealthy. So they are labeled as like this toxic masculine people. And then immediately again a label comes out. So they withdraw. I've seen like men, especially in the South Asian context, they are, you know how people say like, oh, men, they're always looking into the logical side of things. Like, they need a quick solution. They want to fix things. And the amount of times I have heard, like, especially when I deal with couple therapy sessions, the girl would walk in and say, I don't know, like, my boyfriend, my husband always gives this logical solution whenever I need comfort, right? And when I put out a lot of emotions, when I try to talk about an issue more than one time, they immediately go like, why are you just going on and on about the same thing? Aren't we done with this? And the girl feels quite stranded there as well, because they are quite vocal about things. And they come in and they say like, my guy doesn't care. They don't care about my emotions. They don't care about my feelings. I'm like, what if it's not that they do not care? What if they are unsure how to deal with emotions? I mean, talk to him a bit, like how did he handle emotions, like especially negative emotions like sadness or anger, frustration, disappointment? How did he deal with it since childhood? Usually, no. When the girl try to open up with the guy, they completely shut down. But when they have this one-on-one session with me, usually takes a while. It takes a few minutes for them to properly open up. But once they get very transparent with me, they say like, hey, like since childhood, whenever I'm supposed to talk about something that made me upset, my father or my mother like, what is this? You're like, you're angry. What is this? You're like, you're akane. Like, what is this? Why are you so sensitive? Or usually they observe what their father does. Sometimes the parents won't necessarily vocalize and say, tell them to shut their mouth and not talk about emotions. Mostly, like we learn about love, we learn about the right and the wrong and what the world is like through our parents, how they behave, how they talk up, how they communicate about the emotions. And usually what we say is in a general context, right? I'm not saying like all families, all households are like this, not necessarily, but generally when we see majority of the side, we see the mother is always portrayed as a person who constantly fusses and complains and complains. The father, the amount of times I have heard this, oh, my father, usually these labels, he's quite silent. Usually my mom talks to us about these things. My father, he just goes to work, minds his business, and when things are quite dramatic and extreme, then only my father gets involved, right? Other than that, we usually cannot open up to him. Not that he's not present, but then they go silent. They're like, wonder why? Like, I don't know. Since childhood, it was always my mother who was there for me. But my father loves me as well, but emotional side, not so much. In other contexts, they say, my father is available, but I cannot talk about feelings with him because he usually gets angry because he's like, what is this? You're always complaining and da 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 da. See, a son looks at his father and he usually tries to idolize the father, regardless of how healthy or unhealthy the father is, right? So if your son observes, this is how a man should be, he usually takes that path. So either they are extremely emotionally avoidant, they don't talk about emotions, they withdraw, or they completely go to the other side where they are impulsive and they quickly get angry, they are quickly sort of like reactive to certain things. The in between, which is the most healthiest part, is quite unknown. See, the coping strategies that we observe in our parents, and then how this is facilitated in the school context. I mean, think a little boy starts crying in the class. Usually a teacher would be shocked to see that. But if a little girl starts crying, the teacher won't be that shocked. No, it's normal. If a boy starts crying, like, oh, this is so abnormal, this is not normal, they're like, what is this? Why are you starting to cry? Because I've seen this in school context all these years. Again, in a general context, not say like not generalizing to the point like every single teacher is like that, every single parent is like that. When it comes to like a zoomed out version, this is far more common than we think. That's why it starts.
I see. So in those, I would say in that fruit salad you say, so there are a lot of unspoken feelings, a lot of unspoken thoughts where it gets bottled up and it comes out maybe in the most unexpected way. Yeah. So that could be a really scary thing if I'm not wrong. Yes?
Yes, it is. It is.
All right. So do you think men find it harder to recognize when they're struggling mentally? Like they might feel something's off, but they don't necessarily realize it's linked to mental health.
Definitely. See, now, since childhood, little boys are seen to be quite energetic, right? Like, oh, they have a lot of energy. So they usually get into sports and so and so. Now, emotions are nothing but energy that we have. So imagine you generally have a lot of energy and then you trap in more energy within you. You find an outlet to put it out through, right? That's why men are known to get addicted to substances or certain activities like gaming, gambling, or like, engaging with like excessive watching of pornography, or like it could be getting addicted to social media and so, or it's about just hanging out with friends and just constantly wanting to be with friends, not to talk, not to chat, but through using substances. They seek that social belongingness, but they don't talk about emotions. But when they go to that point of being high or tipsy, or like they get vulnerable. They talk up, they put out the emotions, but it comes out in a very extreme way in many cases, right? Sometimes the amount of cases they say, like, usually when I'm drunk, I end up crying. There are many men who say that, right? And the friends quickly label like, "Ayo, machan, can't drink with you, bang." Like you end up crying all the time, or you end up trying to pull a fight out of nowhere, or you completely shut down. You completely shut down. There's no normal, healthy chit chats. Again, they are even in the most vulnerable state where you are not sober. Again, like you have extreme sides of working towards it, right? See, Sean, here as well, the coping strategies that men are taught to have, it's so normalized to go smoke up or have a drink or immediately get onto gaming or some other platform where you can vent out this energy, like I mentioned. That's the coping mechanism that are taught to them or they have observed since childhood. I mean, any movie, any TV series, how would a man act up when they're going through stress? Immediately, you see the negative signs or anger. They're portrayed as people, the humans who usually get angry, right? So usually behavior wise, not vocal wise. Like a lot of physical venting up towards the energy that they have, they went out through physical activities. Then they are seen as these reckless people who just have impulsive decisions of speed driving and, smashing things and, walking out of the house. Again, the label. Then what? Usually they would just walk into a pub. If they're stressed by relationship, work stress, whatever it is, they would just walk into a pub and just have a drink.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting.
No worries.
So it doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad people just because they do it. Because when they don't feel like they don't know, when they don't know how to put those feelings, those thoughts into words, their escape room is gonna be pornography, all going to a pub, smoking up, getting high,
Yeah.
doing all those unhealthy things which you think is right because you don't know how to express yourself. And
Definitely.
I believe it's not that person's fault. Maybe it's what the society has told them to believe, what the community has
Yes.
made them believe. So
I
yes.
mean, little boys watching these movies, TV series, they immediately think this is what a man would do when they're distressed. That's why it starts, right? Like that's why it all starts because the moment you stop watching cartoons and go into watching realistic movies and TV series, TV shows, immediately we see this. And that's why it starts. And then they observed it with their parents. Definitely, it's not about the label what's right and wrong. It's about how destructive it is, how it's not the healthiest way of coping. I mean, drinking, smoking up, there's no right or wrong label towards it. It's a limitation and going beyond that and using that as a coping mechanism, right? It's all about dopamine, the feel good hormone. See, we say when it comes to smoking, the substance abuse, or even like pornography and social media addiction, gaming addiction, these give us dopamine, the feel good hormone. What happens? Now, what happens when you are distressed? Your body craves for that dopamine and serotonin production. So your brain produces these hormones, neurotransmitters, and chemicals, right? What would happen when you don't let your brain produce it, but immediately you resort into these escape routes? You get this dopamine, and the brain goes to the point like, I mean, what's the point of me producing these chemicals when he is getting these through these other pathways? Rather than confronting the emotion, they look for dopamine, right? I mean, what's the healthiest way to do it? Definitely like talking with someone and putting that emotion out. But these escape routes, these survival strategies, I could say, because coping mechanisms are survival strategies after all, they don't deal with emotions that they are feeling. Immediately, they want to avoid and repress and get away with these emotions because that's what they're taught to do since childhood. That's where addiction comes. That's why when parents come to me and complain like their son is addicted to this drug or alcohol or smoking, they're constantly on the phone, they're gaming 24/7 and neglecting their studies, I immediately observe the parents and I immediately think about what their family dynamics are like. it gets rooted there. Like you said, it's not that the guy is bad. That's how he's taught to be brought up. Like, emotions are not supposed to be things that I am good at handling, or I'm not supposed to handle with it. Showing emotions make me a weak person. They know it's unhealthy, but they don't know where to start. How to start when the entire society is facilitating it.
That leaves a question mark right there.
Yeah.
So in a few interviews, people said that even when men want to share what they're going through, they sometimes just don't know how to put those feelings into words, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So what are some ways to help someone improve that emotional expression to say what they actually feel, what they actually, what their heart feels like pouring out to someone?
I think, like, I know immediately we think of the closest people around us. Hey, it's very cliche for me to tell you that, I mean, talk to your loved ones, put your heart out. But me being in this field for all these years, I know if you had that space, you would have resorted to that already.
Exactly.
Why? Like, you have your loved ones, they want the best for you. How come you never had the space or the opportunity, the feeling to go reach out to them? Why? Because they see you with this, to say, like, oh, okay, he is this. Okay, Sean, if it's Sean is a person. Hey, I didn't expect this. Hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? They expect this major issue. And then you say, like, oh, machan, just this girlfriend's thing. Like, yo, machan, like, why are you talking? Like, what? Such a small thing. Just let it go, let it go. Immediately, let it go. Why are you thinking about it so much? Hey, like, even the guy who was talking that video, he was talking about such. I was really happy to hear many of his POVs, and then immediately he goes like, "Oh, I was like, "Oh, there you go." Everything was good up until that point. Do you think we can control what comes to our mind? Our mind doesn't have windows or doors.
Exactly.
It's like an open space. If I tell you all to imagine me ballet dancing right now, boom, within a millisecond, you imagine me ballet dancing and you didn't want to. I
Exactly.
just mentioned that. So, does that mean that you have no control over your mind? No. Hey, we need to have certain control over mind, but that does not mean control is the healthy way to deal with it. It's all about making sure we have certain gateways that it doesn't necessarily impact us in a major way, but feelings and thoughts won't crush in and impact us. That's what we need. We cannot control what comes into our mind, but we can give that feeling and thought a meaning and sort of like be like ruminating in it can actually give it more negative feelings. That's a whole nother thing, right? But we cannot tell a person to not think about a certain thing. I mean, where does these feelings vanish off to? Again, emotions, you lock it inside. Where does this come off as? Extreme energies where you are resorting for coping mechanism, unhealthy ones, definitely. Then the other is like complete avoidance or isolation. So that's that. What I'm trying to say is there's a reason why you're unable to talk to your loved ones, your mother or father, your best friend about this. Because none of us are like, below the age of 15 here, right? Most of us are adults. I mean, there could be adolescents here, I'm not so sure. But still, all these years, more than a decade, at least we are older than 15 years here. So people have seen us to have this personality. So it's very hard for us to break through that barrier and talk to them at this point. But hey, that doesn't mean that we should not reach out. Doesn't mean like, hey, I need to talk to you. And then you verbal diarrhea to the point where they're, oh, I'm so sorry you go through that. It doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. But you can definitely reach out. But if you feel like this person is not necessarily understanding the true nature of what you're going through, immediate disappointment is very common. But I don't want you to be stuck there. Hey, they don't understand what I'm going through because they think this is my personality. They are shocked to say this. Or it could be another guy who is also so used to having this coping mechanism. They are unsure to deal with emotions, so they get stuck and they're like, let's have a drink, Macha. Immediately you go to the pub and have a drink. And that's how you deal with those emotions. You have a brief chit chat and then you have these unresolved emotions and feelings. You have the drink, you have a hangover. Next day, it hits you like a truck. It's even worse than it was before because now you have opened up a wound. You cannot talk to the same friend about it because he'll be like, what is it? You're still thinking about that? Right? Usually that's the response because he could really care about you, but they're like, hey, we had this talk. What's going on? Like they make it a big deal out of it. You're like, oh, no, nothing. It's all gone. You shut down again. That's the most common pattern that I always see. So what I'm trying to say is, if they are unable to understand you, that does not mean that they don't care. It's just what they are so used to, sort of like, that's their easiest way of dealing with things. Again, they have their own lifestyle of being raised by certain ways and so and so. That's why a lot of men get connected with women at this point. Usually they don't like to talk to their own mother because they would get stressed. They don't want their mother to get stressed and think like, oh my God, Puta is going through these. And usually mothers, not all mothers, in many cases, mothers, they immediately go into that, oh my God, my child is suffering. And they can react. That reaction itself would make the child get overwhelmed and like, oh, no, all good. And they would like say like, no, it's just exam stress and just shut down. But the deeper part of it, they would never, because the parents or like the mother's reaction is far more bigger. And then they usually connect with their colleagues, female colleagues, friends, right? Usually they find comfort through that, which is good. But what I'm trying to say is, not because I'm a psychologist myself, but it's a very, the people think like it's a very drastic decision to walk into a mental health professional's office and just, talk about your feelings. You feel so vulnerable. But in many countries, that's the very first thing that they do. Not because you try to reject the people around you and you don't trust the loved ones around you, because you don't know how to approach them. My biggest suggestion is try talking to the people around you, one or two of them. But if that doesn't work, don't sit with that disappointment and go back into withdrawal avoidance, thinking like, oh, nobody understands me. Understanding doesn't mean they don't love you. Understanding is their perspective, their coping mechanisms, their strategies of dealing with emotions. They have a different POV about things. They could still care, they could still love you, but they don't know. They are biased in many ways, right? That's where we come in because, hey, there's no bias here. If you sit right in front of me, I want the best for you, but not in a way that you can escape it, but what is the most healthiest for you, right? And I will also, it's not like mental health professionals will push you to only come to therapy and stay away from other people, right? It doesn't work that way. Our main job is to make sure you don't ever go to therapy again. That's our point. We don't want to drag the sessions more and more. We want it to be not a journey they can walk in, but there's always like a stop where you can depend on other people. You can open up to other people. That's our main priority, to make sure you can open up to loved ones and make them see things differently.
So I believe in most of the people, especially in this generation, when our parents know that we're going through something, they're like, okay, why don't you trust me? Well, I love you. And then they bring on the trust, they bring on the love, they bring on, okay, I do everything for you. Why can't you open up? And the part where they don't understand is that I would have opened up to you way long ago if you had approached me in the way I wanted to.
Definitely.
So
True.
I think you can't blame them as well, because they don't come from a generation that understands emotions as much as we do. But again, that is not an excuse to neglect how we are currently feeling.
Definitely. And sometimes, Sean, it's not necessarily neglect either. They badly want to hear us out, but like I said, it's the reactions that they give.
True.
Like, like those, and oh my God, why didn't you talk to me? Like, are you okay? And that extreme emotions can make you feel so overwhelmed because you're not so used to it. And you don't, who wants your parents to be more stressed if they are already going through certain things? You don't want to add on to things, right? That's one thing, but that doesn't mean that you should not approach them. But mostly it's the reactions these parents give that makes the child sort of step away and say like, no, no, it's okay. I'm better off just keeping it to myself. It's that.
So some interviewees, especially the foreigners, highlighted how important it is to have a small, trusted circle to share and open up with, which I personally agree with. And from a psychological point of view, how much of a difference does it make to have that kind of emotional support system, I would say?
It's so important, Sean. Like I told you, our brain doesn't have a language, right? So when a person sort of like talks about emotions, regardless of their gender, they usually get, how to say, I could immediately identify my clients who have a support system or my clients who don't have a support system, the way they vocalize it. One person walking and saying like, hey, so I have been going through this. I've been feeling so demotivated. I think about this, I cannot sleep, and then I usually cry about it. I usually get angry about this. They're so self-aware about their emotions. That's usually because they either journal it down, like they translate it into words, the language that we know, Sinhala, English, or Tamil, or they vocalize it. They translate it into words and verbalize it with another person. So when they come in and sit in front of me, when they talk, I immediately identify, they have spoken about this with somebody else, or they have actually translated this into words. The others who don't, they usually resort to the physiological symptoms like, I cannot sleep. I lose focus. I forget things easily. I'm so stressed. They usually just talk about this. And I usually get angry a lot. That's it. They get lost and they expect me to immediately give quick solutions for it. But the underlying root causes are this emotional repression, keeping things in. So it's very important for you to have that network of people. But what I'm trying to say is again, Sean, it's not easy to build a network out of nowhere. Especially, you could be having such great friends, but if they have unhealthy ways of coping with this, then you cannot tell like, no, Machan, why don't we just grab a coffee and talk about this? And they're like, okay, but we are used to having a drink and talk about this, right? They are not so used to having a coffee or a tea and talk about feelings. They're like, they also go into that mode of feeling uncomfortable. Like, rather, it would be better to sort of like not be sober and talk about this. Briefly, get it done with, right? So I know how hard it is to have that circle of friends, but that does not mean you should not initiate it. You should, right? Sean, can you hear me? Am I
Yes, I
audible?
can hear you, but I can hear you,
Oh,
but there was a
yes.
slight change in the volume.
Just give me a second. Ah, yes. No, I think my AirPods disconnected. Okay. Could you give me a second, please?
Yes, please.
Am I audible now?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Okay. It got connected to something else. So, anyway, what I'm trying to say is sometimes you could be the person who initiates all of this. Your friend could say, like, hey, let's just go here, let's grab a drink, or let's have like a, because usually these one on one conversations are very hard. You could be having such great friends, like let's say 5 friends that you have. They have completely different personalities, and all 5 are not so used to talking about emotions, right? So imagine you have a meetup and you want to talk about something. You know, these 2 friends are very understanding. You can talk to them about it, but the other 3 friends would make it quite brief, and they would suggest other coping mechanisms and try to, because them talking emotions will also rile up many things that they're also going through. They get uncomfortable, they would immediately suggest other things. So that vulnerability, that it also completely gets shut down. So my suggestion is, before creating like a small set of friends who, like, circle where you can talk about emotions, look into a friend circle and identify 1 or 2 friends who you can actually open up to. Have one-on-one session, like, maybe like a chat. You don't need to necessarily meet up. Just text and say like, hey, man, I'm going through this, right? I don't know what to do. I try to not think about it, but clearly it's not helping, right? So then he may know like, hey, okay, because you already know this friend is very mindful about the emotions as well. Then later on, you can make it a bigger group where you'll talk about this once in a while. Start small. Just because like in European countries, westernized countries, it's so common for them to have this as well, right? Don't no, not necessarily meaning that they have very healthy ways of coping with it. I mean, this is it's a very general thing that many men go through, but it's good. It's definitely good to have a small set of people where you could talk to. But the thing is it realistic on the get-go? There are certain initial stages towards building that healthy way of talking about things.
Sure. So what you're trying to say is that it's really good to have a small circle, as well as you should know, I think, what is right and wrong in that
Yes.
point of view.
Yes.
Because even personally, I think it is really important to have a small group of people where you know, okay, if shit goes down, sorry about my language, but if things
That's
go
fine.
down,
Mm.
okay, you know, okay, I could at least talk to this person for like at least 3 minutes, and he'll probably, you know, give me a solution, or he'll make me feel better for just a few seconds,
Yeah, yeah,
which means a lot for that person at that point.
definitely. Definitely.
So one topic that really stood out was about crying. Uh,
Mm,
how how it's often seen as something that damages a man's, you know, masculinity.
mm.
Why do you think crying still carries that stigma? Where how we can reframe it from it being you know, from it being shown as a weakness to a strength? Because I believe crying is not bad. Crying, everybody cries at a certain point.
Yeah, yeah. If you feel happy, who would come and tell you to, hey, why are you smiling? Stop smiling. Stop laughing. But when you're sad, crying is the behavioral part of that emotion. Smiling and laughing is the behavioral part of happiness. And disgust, if that's the emotion that you feel, avoiding a certain thing is the behavioral part of it. The reason being, whenever a person cries, usually the society immediately gets overwhelmed and like, hey, stop crying, stop crying. In therapy, there are some therapies now. We usually have these tissue boxes right in front of them, right? I know for a fact, if my client starts crying, regardless of the gender, I don't immediately shove the tissue box in front of them. A lot of therapists start talking about this as of recent. Like, is it okay to push a tissue box? Because it's a form of saying, like, hey, wipe those away and stop crying. We don't verbalize it. We don't say that. We want the client to put it out. Sometimes, like, if it's a client who I know well, when I know how hard it is for them to put it out, I make sure like the tissue box is right in front of them. I just stay silent, right? I just let them cry. I don't merge in and say like, hey, why are you crying? What did you think of? Like, and I just let them put it out, and they immediately like, sorry, I don't know where that came from. I'm like, hey, I definitely know where that came from. You also know where it came from, so put it out. It's all the emotions that's coming out through behaviors, right? So that's what. whether it's a girl or a boy, whenever we are crying, since if we are a child, when we cry, it's very normalized. The more we grow up, when we shed a tear, say like, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? Stop crying. Here, now enough, huh? Now don't cry again, huh? That's the way we deal with things. The other person cannot handle the tears of the person in front of them. But you won't say the same thing when a person smiles or laughs. It's an emotional and the behavioral aspect of it. That's it. That's why crying, these tears are known to be very sort of like, I don't know, they portray it as a very negative thing. It's a very harmful thing. How is it so harmful? Just trapping it inside is what's causing harm, right? Sad.
So how do you think we can reframe it? Do you think we have the courage, the strength, the power to change what the world thinks, what the community thinks? Because we, at the end of the day, are just a one individual in the world, a one tiny dot. So what do you
Sean,
think
I
about that?
think we can change it because we are part of the society as well. We cannot change the society if we don't change ourselves, right? If a little boy comes to you, it could be a little brother, it could be an elder brother, it could be a guy friend, whoever it is. If they come and shed a tear, just don't say anything. They would say sorry, like, hey, I don't know where. I was like, hey, it's okay. They would be sobbing in front of you. Try not to stop it. Try not to say stop. Try not to say, hey, it's enough. Hey, stop crying now. Let's talk about it. Talking is a way where you shut it down and you tell them to communicate with you. But where does the tears go then? Does emotion go? It's like a dam being broken. The tears are supposed to come out. Just let them sit with it. It could be the little brothers in your school, in your uni, right? Immediately think of a little brother who comes to you and they start crying and say like, hey, what's wrong? Hey, man up, man up. I've heard this so much in the school context. Oh my goodness. Like you have already like fed this little child like, hey, you're not a man if you're crying. So, I mean, trust me, ourselves will be doing that. It's a way we react to other people. If we want the society to change, we need to start it with ourselves, right? And we need to, if your friend is a toxic person who doesn't like to see other friends crying, try to explain to him, hey, it's fine. We all need to put it out. It's about explaining your friend who has very unhealthy coping mechanism about what's right and what's wrong. Right? It's not about laughing it away and anything. You need to change yourself first. If a person is crying, nothing else, just let that person cry. It needs to come out.
At some point, it has to.
It has to. Very overdue.
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes, not to mention, even I have personally told my brother, man up, man, what is this? Why are you crying like that? Now I feel terrible. I
Talk
feel like
about being
I feel like a
terrible.
terrible big brother.
You
And
see, you talk about mental health here, men's mental health here. You know what's right and wrong. That's what I told you, right? Sometimes we are unsure how to initiate it with ourselves. And we expect the society to change. It starts with us. Simple as that. But awareness is really important.
thank you. And so we have another video upcoming, and I would like to ask Ilham to share that as well.
ஹாய் நாங்கள் இன்னைக்கு ரொட்டரி கிளப் ஆஃப் சினமன் கார்டனால் ஆண்களின் மன ஆரோக்கியத்தை பற்றி பொதுமக்களின் கருத்து என்னன்னு சொல்லி பார்க்குறதுக்காக கொலம்போ சுற்றி வந்திருக்கோம். வாங்க பார்க்கலாம் அவங்களோட கருத்து என்னன்னு சொல்லி. நாங்கள் வந்து ரொட்டரி கிளப் ஆஃப் சினமன் கார்டன்லேருந்து வந்திருக்கோம். இன்னைக்கு வந்து நாங்கள் மென்ஸோட மென்டல் ஹெல்த், அதாவது ஆண்களோட மன ஆரோக்கியம் பற்றி ஒரு டாபிக் எடுத்து பேச வந்திருக்கோம். உங்களோட பார்வையில் ஆண்கள் என்றதை பற்றி நீங்கள் என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க? ஆண்கள் அவங்களோட மன ஆரோக்கியம்ன்றது எவ்வளவு தூரம் இருக்கு?
ஆண்களை பற்றி சொல்ல போனா அவர் அவங்களோட ஃபேமிலி வேயா வந்ததாகவும் இருக்கலாம். அவங்களோட பேசிக்ல அவங்களுக்கு அந்த தாய் தகப்பன் அவங்கள உருவாக்குள்ளே மனதைரியத்தை கொடுத்து வளர்த்திருந்தாங்களா இருந்தால் அவங்க கொஞ்சம் ஸ்டெடியா இருப்பாங்க. பயமுறுத்தி வளர்த்து அதை அவங்கள கூட அடிமைத்தனமா வளர்த்திருந்தாங்கன்னா அவங்களோட லைஃப் பின்னால ஃபெயிலியரா இருக்க கூடும். அவங்கள பொம்பளையில அடக்க மாட்டாங்களே செய்ய ஒரு அந்த ஆளுமை இருக்காது குடும்பத்துல அது ஒரு அப்படி ஒரு ஆம்பளை பிள்ளைய வளர்க்கும் போது தாய் தகப்பன் சுதந்திரமா வளர்த்திருக்க வேணும். அவங்கள எல்லாத்தையும் ஊட்டி வளர்க்க வேணும். அந்த பயமோ ஏதோ நல்லதோ கெட்டதோ சொல்லி வளர்த்தாதான் அந்த ஆம்பளை பிள்ளை நல்லா வளருவான். ஒரு உதாரணம், எனக்கு கூட பிறந்த சகோதரங்கள் இல்லாட்டியும் எனக்கு பக்கத்து வீட்டு பிள்ளைகள் எல்லாம் எனக்கு சகோதரம் மாதிரி தான் வளர்ந்தது. அவங்களெல்லாம் நல்லா இருக்காங்க.
කතා කරන්න තැනක් තියෙනවා පුතා. මොකද මානසික සෞඛ්‍ය කියන්නේ හැමදේම මෙන්ටලි අපි හිතන පතන දේනේ සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක මානසිකත්වය හදාගන්න පුද්ගල වශයෙන් ඒ තනිය තමන් කරගන්න ඕන දෙයක්. මානසිකත්වය හදාගන්නවා කියන එක. තමන් ජීවත් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? තමන් ජීවත් වෙන ඒකට ගොඩක් දේවල් බලපානවානේ. අපට වටපිටාව බලපානවා, පෞල් සංස්ථාව බලපානවා, ඥාති හිතයිෂෝ යාළුවෝ ෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ්ස්ලානේ. ඔය හැමදේම බලපානවා මානසිකත්වය හැදෙන්න. ඉතින් ඒක තමන් පාලනය කරගෙන තමන්ගේ ජීවන ගමන යන්න තමන් හදාගන්න තමන් දැනගන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි කෙටියෙන්ම කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒක හැම ගොඩක් දේවල් ඉතින් අපේ බුද්ධ ධර්මයත් එක්ක මම බෞද්ධ ආගමිකයෙක්. අපේ ධර්මයත් එක්ක මේ ගියා නම් ගොඩක් ජීවිත ගමන යන්න පහසුයි. අපි මිනිස්සු වශයෙන් ගොඩක් පාඩු වැරදි තියෙනවා. කවුරු මේකේ සම්පූර්ණ පුද්ගලයෝ නැහැ. නමුත් ටිකක් හරි පිළිපදින්න පුළුවන් නම් ධර්මයත් එක්ක යන්න පුළුවන් නම් ගොඩක් සැහැල්ලු ජීවිතයක් ගෙවන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක බැරිකමක් නැහැ.
ඒක රංග කියන්නේ අපිට ක්‍රමසාවිදි සෑහෙන්න තියෙනවා. ඒක විද්‍යාක ආගමත් එක්ක අපි ලැබිවිටිය
විශේෂයෙන්ම ආගමත් එක්ක යනවා නම් ඕන මිනිසෙකුට මානසිකත්වය කඩා ගන්න නැතුව ඒ ගමන යන්න මාර්ගය හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ආගමත් එක්ක බැඳෙන්න ඕනේ. අද තරුණයෝ නම් නොයෙකුත් මග යනවා අපිට පේනවා. නමුත් දැන් මගේ වයසත් එක්ක පිළවල තියෙන අත්දැකීමුත් එක්ක ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ඒක අපහසු කාර්යයක් කියලා. ඒක තමන් පාලනය කරගන්න දැනගන්න ඕනේ.
ඒතර අංකරද කියන්න පුළුවන් අපිට දෙන්න තියෙන පණිවිඩය කියන්නේ දැන් පිරිමින්ට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා තමන්ට කතා කරන්න බැරි තැන්. අංකල්ට ඉදිරියට අපි විසඳගෙන හරි නොවිසඳගෙන හරි අපිට ඉදිරියට යන්න මොන හරි අංකල්ගෙන් උපදේශයක් තියෙනවද?
මෙහෙමයි. හැම කෙනෙකුටම ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවනේ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේ ඕනෑ දෙයක් විසඳ ගන්න පුළුවන් කතා කරන්න ඕනේ. තමන් හංගගෙන බෑ. අපි හිතමු උදාහරණයක් විදිහට පවුලේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් කියලා. තමන් මේ විවාහක නම් තමන්ගේ බිරිඳත් එක්ක සියලුම දේවල් කතා කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒ හැම ප්‍රශ්නයක්ම විසඳ ගන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම විසඳ ගන්න නැතුව වෙනත් විකල්ප දේවල් හොයාගෙන ගිහිල්ලා ගොඩක් මිනිස්සු ප්‍රශ්න ඇති කර ගන්නවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කෙටි උත්තර හොයන්න ගිහිල්ලා පොඩි ප්‍රශ්න විශාල ප්‍රශ්න කරගෙන ජීවිත පවා අහිමි කරගෙන ඒ වගේ දේවල් මේ අද සමාජයේ තියෙනවා. ඉතින් හැමදේම මම හිතනවා ආගම මුල් කරගත්තා නම් ඔය හැම දෙයකටම උත්තර තියෙනවා.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි අංකල්. අපි වටිනා පණිවිඩය අපි සමාජෙටම දෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Yep, so that was that video. I assume you didn't understand the first bit because it was Tamil, but later on it was done in Sinhalese. So again, another aspect people believe is if you adhere to your religion, respective religion, it would all go away. All these problems would just disappear. I believe that is true to a certain extent. What do you think personally?
I know with our generation as well, we don't resort to religion. Like, if you have faith, even people with faith, they are sort of forced to go into temple, church, mosque by their parents. And it's sort of like seen as a very conditional practice. Say like, oh, you're Buddhist, you need to go to the temple. You're Christian, Catholic, you need to go to the church. You're Muslim, you need to go to the mosque. Like, it's sort of like seen as a very conditional thing. It's like a must. But the more you grow up, you immediately stop these practices because you are forced to do that by our parents, right? But I truly agree with this. Not just Buddhism, I'm a Buddhist myself. Not just Buddhism, but any religion preaches about kindness, opening up about emotions, and so and so. I know for a fact every religion has created a platform to talk about this. I know there are monks, there are priests, there are fathers, reverends, like sisters, and many religious leaders. They have created this. I know that for a fact. They have these meetups and anything, but our generation is not so used to resort into that things, right? But I'm so glad that was mentioned as well. Again, it's not just one religion. We always have these platforms. There are all these religious leaders and representatives in these places where you could walk in and then talk about it. I have many of my clients who have done that, who have actually found peace. Then they feel like, oh, I need to go to a professional and talk this up, and it felt really good, right? It's really great. But I also know not everyone is religious, right? So we have to respect that as well. So if you can resort to that, that could be one of the very first steps you could take. It's not about just going to the church and just crying it out or sitting under a bo tree and crying it out. Not just that, talking to a person, that as well, right? There are many out there who could help you out. But that could be one of your first steps. Truly, there are many people who can help you out even in these religious I can say organizations, but temples, mosques, churches, right? There are many people who are there to help us out. So I agree with it. But not everyone can sort of, when you're distressed, not everyone can listen to a sermon and immediately fix their issue, right? Because it's very generalized. You cannot find a solution or comfort through just one video. It needs to be a lifestyle. It needs to be a practice, right? Just because you're depressed right now, just listen to a sermon of a monk won't help you get rid of those thoughts. That's why, like through therapy or talking to a person, you'll be very concrete and you'll be very direct with this is what I'm going through. Right? So, because usually, trust me, Sean, like in certain sermons, even though what they're saying is right, the amount of times many of my clients think the solution for the distress that they're going through is, oh, cutting off attachments. Hey, the last time I heard this case, I know cutting off attachments is another end of going towards depression because you're isolating yourself. So if you're in a very vulnerable state of mind, you think cutting off attachment is not talking to your mother, not opening up, staying away from your friends, isolating yourself. Even though cutting off attachments in a very philosophical side, it makes sense. It's far more deeper than you think. If you're vulnerable emotionally, you would take it in the wrong way. So that's what, like you said, to some certain extent, yes. But beyond that, we need to be very mindful. But if you're emotionally vulnerable, can you be mindful? You need another person to direct you towards it, right?
True. Totally true. Because at the end of the day, everyone is not the same person.
Yes, definitely.
So the last question I'm targeting you is many people, especially men, hesitate to seek professional help when they're struggling. I've had friends, I've had family, and for some reason, reaching out for professional guidance, for professional help like you, it feels very intimidating, not in a good way, but a bad way. And so what can we do to make it feel like a normal, healthy first step that we take in order to, finally move that side of us, let that chapter be a past chapter that we move on from?
Sean, this is not related to any gender, but usually the clients who initially come into therapy and they have never had a past where they have ever gone to a mental health professional, they would walk in and I see the anxiety and tension that they have. You know how I usually start off a session? I know there are a couple of my clients also who have joined here as well. I have friends of mine, I have people the people who know me in the consultation side of it, they know how I start off a session. I don't immediately let them sit and say, like, okay, what are you here for? I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not treating a physical illness, saying like, where is the pain? What are the symptoms? No, it doesn't work out that way. People have this stigma that that's what therapy is. You need to go sit and say, this is my issue. You know how I start it off? I say, hey, usually when people come in for therapy for the first time, usually when my clients say like they are unsure like what to say and where to start. They know definitely things are going wrong, but they don't know what is going wrong because there are things from the past that's still bothering you, but you can answer that is the main reason why I'm struggling right now. That could be linked towards it. But yeah, there are multiple things that you're going through right now, teeny tiny things that adds up. So what are you to focus on? Then there are worries about the future, right? Uncertainties about the future. So which part of it are you to focus on? Say like, this is what I'm struggling with, when there are multiple things that you're struggling with it. So when I start off the session, I ask them, hey, there could be many things that you're going through, but right now you walked in here because some part of your life got extremely unstable, right? Something crashed or something internally crashed. What is it? Tell me that. It's my job to link it to your past or future. I will guide you through it. You don't need to necessarily come here with the solution. People think like this, I worked towards this, but it didn't work out. It doesn't work that way. You walk in, you can sit. I'll be the person who will guide you through it. You don't need to know all the answers and questions and what to ask and all of that. That's how, like, unfamiliar our country is with mental health help. They think they need to have this script in their head when they walk into the session. If you have a script, that's a very unhealthy way of dealing with it. If they have a script, I feel like, oh, they're not genuine. They're well prepared for the session. But if they come and sit there and just, they're awkward, I feel so at ease because I know this person really needs my help. They're unsure where to start from. If you walk in, any mental health professional, they won't ever ask, what are you here for? No, they won't ever ask. Like, I'm struggling with something right now. Then they will link up to many things in the past and the future. So just keep, regardless, like whether you're a man or a woman, right? That is one of the biggest barriers. Because our generation, compared to our parents' generation, that taboo thing, that stigma impacts us less now. I know that for a fact. People are ready to walk in, right? But the biggest barrier is they are unsure like what to talk. And they're like, where am I to start? You don't need to start from anywhere. Let the therapist guide you to do that. So your biggest step, not even one step, it could be 100 steps towards the right direction. That 100 steps is you booking an Uber, getting into a car, just coming in, walking in and sitting there. Let the professional do the rest of it. You don't need to think anything else. And look, there are some who say this, hey, other people have bigger issues. Sean, you could drown in 5 feet of water. Another person could drown in 20, 50, 100 feet of water. The suffocation is the same, regardless of how deep it is. Suffocation is the same. You could be having such small issues. It's not the magnitude of it. It's a suffocation that you're feeling, the emotions that you're feeling. Your therapist won't ever judge you for having small things. You're so used to hearing that, hey, other people have big issues, focus on that. You're so privileged. Others have this. We are so used to being shut down with these things. We think professionals will tell us the same. That's the exact opposite we're going to do. We'll make you feel seen for what you're going through. That's all I could say. Beyond that, it's everyone who's watching's choice. It's about pushing the people around you to go into therapy or you yourself going to therapy, right? Just tell them. Don't think about what you're going to tell or say in the session. Just walk in and sit there. Let the professional handle it.
Agree with you, 100%. So I have nothing else to say because you basically covered the entire thing. And again, personally, my own parents have, said those. And again, but I've been smart enough to, question myself, okay, this is not right. And I personally go tell them, okay, you can't shut me down like this. This is a form of me expressing myself. And to a certain extent, they actually do understand. So I appreciate that they're actually trying at least. So as we move on towards the end of our discussion, what message would you like to give to us young people, including yourself, both men and women, about creating a space where emotional honesty is accepted and supported?
I know. I again wouldn't like to wrap this up in a very cliche term. They are saying like, "Oh, reach out. There's always help out there." You already know that, right? This entire session was about that. But if I could just tell you one thing, when you reach out, not everyone will try to understand you. I told you this, right? That's more than enough for you to shut down and never reach out again. Don't judge the person who you're going towards with their reactions. I'm not saying like parents, like they know they are handling it in the way that they know what's best, right? And some have their own limitations. But if it stops from there, don't define your friendship or connection with that person through that, right? They are used to reacting to that in a certain way because that was the survival mode that they were in. They don't know anything less. But I do know people change. I know for a fact our parents can change. I have seen with my own eyes. I have seen my clients' parents after coming talk to me. They have actually changed. They can actually change. So just don't define that connection through that. If you feel like there's a barrier, you opening up to that person, there's a barrier, take a few steps back. Just understand that they are coming from their perspective. Try it again. If you hit that barrier, then come to us. But if your first step is coming to us, that's far more better because you won't hit a barrier then, right? But that's my biggest advice because I was there at that point. I thought my friends are supposed to understand me 100% because I would do the same to them. But we are completely different from each other. There are certain friends I cannot talk about my marital little arguments with them because they don't have that understanding. How can I pressure them to understand me if they are not in the same boat? But I can talk to them about other things, family things and future fears. They won't not understand one segment of my life. That doesn't make them less of a friend. That just makes them them, right? But you go to a therapist, you go to a mental health professional, they will help you out in any dimension in life. Not because they're experts or superiors, because they are non-judgmental, non-biased. Because if you walk to a family friend or like a colleague or your family, they have a bias. They love you so much, they don't want you to cry too much. There's always that bias. There's always that thing that they hit that they go speechless. But a professional, unbiasedly, will guide you towards it. And we won't ever give advices. We never give advices. We give suggestions. We never give advices. We just guide them.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that key message.
Okay.
And I believe for everyone here who is, who is behind those screens, I believe it was a very insightful discussion, even for me personally. And thank you so much, Mrs. Rashmi, for that, for sharing your time, experience, and your perspective with us tonight. So before we officially wrap up things, which makes me a bit sad, but again, it was a really insightful session. We'd love to take a few minutes to hear from our audience as well. If anyone has a question or a thought they'd like to share with Mrs. Rashmi about men's mental health, please feel free to unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Let's make this moment to open up the flow and keep the conversation going instead of making it a bit more silent. Feel free to ask any questions, guys, because again, this session was conducted for a reason. So yes.
I think we have Tanya.
Yeah, Sean and Rashmi, thank you so much for the insightful conversation. There were a lot to reflect, especially when Rashmi was telling how brain doesn't understand emotions and how we project them through our behaviors. It was really interesting. Even when you were talking about movies and everything, I was reflecting how in Ashiki and everything, how boys get isolated when they are going through hard times, usually how they portray people being sad and pressured. And what I wanted to know is recently also sometimes people reach out to me and ask, here, Tanya, do you know any place where we can actually go and ask for help? Because I'm also a psychology student, but most of the time, as I myself, as I'm in the field, I mean, as a student, I know there are gaps even within the field. So I wanted to know how us young people can identify the right place to go, because there are many organizations, right? And I feel like we have to be careful when we are seeking for the professional help. If you can guide us in this question, it would be really helpful.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for that question. It's a very tricky question because if I'm to talk and say like, "Hey, come to me," it won't be realistic because I'll be pushing myself forward. Like, hey, no, that's not what I'm saying. There are many mental health professionals out there who could definitely help you out. But I also want to mention this, right? Sometimes you could be a guy and walking towards a male therapist might make you feel way more comfortable with him. But sometimes you might feel like, no, I feel like I would be far more vulnerable with a female therapist. So always listen to your heart, like who would I be comfortable with? Whether it's a young therapist or whether it's a elderly, like senior therapist, it depends, like what you seek for. The other thing is, again, this might sing a bit of yours because sometimes you could walk in and your therapist might not be using the approaches that really suit your issue, right? Sometimes it could be about vocalizing that, hey, I think it will be better. Now, there are some therapists when you walk in, they think that you want to talk more about the past, but you don't want to talk much about the past. So you could talk about it, but if you feel like the therapist constantly pushes you to only talk about the past, you really need to say like, hey, is it also possible for us to talk about my future plans? I feel I'm more overwhelmed by that. That is really important. But either way, different therapists have different styles of approaching things. They're humans as well, right? So not every physician treats your illness in the same way. There are slight differences. Doesn't make them any bad or any unprofessional. It's the way they approach it. It's all about giving it a try and seeing whether you truly feel like this is benefiting you, or if you sort of like feel stuck. It might not, you might not get a solution or guidance in the very first session. It could be like giving it one or two more like sessions and give it a try and see where you are at, right? But rather than me telling this organization is good, this, because there are plenty. I can definitely forward a few places through the team leads as well, so they can share it with the platform and you all can be aware of different organizations and places that I suggest. There are many out there, but I cannot specifically say it's this therapy is this, because I'm sure many of them want the best for their clients who work in. But definitely, to answer your question, Tanya, I can definitely share few platforms, few organizations that I personally recommend. So y'all can share it in the stories or maybe, and it will be a very good awareness for everyone out there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think we have
Mohammed
Mohammed.
from Cinnamon,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, how can I contact you?
Oh, yes, definitely. I can share my email address and contact details as well through the team leads. They can share it on the story as well because I cannot spell it out right now. Definitely reach out as well. But if in any case, again, I might not be able to give like urgent sessions because it would be very hard because I'm usually scheduled for a month or so. But I do know there are many other mental health professionals out there who are available within the clinic that I work at and other suggestions that I would give. If not me, definitely reach out for others as well. But I would say, like, definitely if you walk in, I will give my best towards you. I can definitely share my contact details with the team leads.
Yeah, thank you, not, not, not Aiden. Not
Yes.
Aiden. If I have the contact number, but I can contact if I need.
Definitely. I'm looking forward for our session then. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
We have Sindhu Sankha Gamage. All right. Who had raised their hand.
Hi, Rashmi. Yeah.
Hi,
So yeah,
Sinu.
I have a question. So sometimes we cannot make like urgent appointments with our counselor. Or, sometimes at the middle of the night or in the afternoon. Sometimes we need someone to talk, right?
Yeah.
When we choose someone, there are things that we need to think, and how do we deal with the feeling of judgment when you open up to
Mm-hmm.
people? Like sometimes let's get this logical, right?
Yes,
So we
definitely.
all are people, and we are people are there's dualism within people, and
Mm-hmm.
so fi- uh, how we can deal with the feeling of judgment when we open up to another person. Do you have any tips?
Definitely. And thank you for that question, Sita, because I think that's something that I need to briefly address as well. Because in our society, a lot of people think mental health professionals need to be available 24/7. We are not. And so if you are in a very critical state, it's less likely all mental health professionals can urgently give sessions. So my recommendation for many of my clients is to sort of like, just depending on what you're going through, it's better to sort of like book sessions ahead of time and sort of get an idea. Okay, I think like mid next month I might be having this stress. I think I will need a session then. But if it's like critical, I do understand reaching out to other people as well. That judgment can really hit us. But it's a very deep topic, Sid. But I can say this. Look, like I said, the other people's reactions to us is not a definition of us. It's what they know and what they have already gone through. Their judgment is how they view the society, how they view things. That doesn't mean that they are any right in any way, right? They have gone through certain things, they are seeing things in a different perspective, and that judgment is what they truly feel about themselves. Sometimes when you have a very negative judgment, I get a lot of it, right? So when I sort of like stay with it, immediately you will get the negative emotion. That's completely fine. You are not supposed to sort of like feel happy and completely disregard it. Sit with that negative feeling like of, you will definitely feel disappointment. But if you go beyond that to define yourself, say like, oh my God, maybe he's right, she's right, da, then we get stuck with it. We give more value towards what they said, right? But no, none of us are perfect. We go through so much. That's why I always say go to a professional. But if the professional is giving personal advices, then that professional is not a professional, right? You need to know. That's why I said going and seeking out help from other people around you in your circle, it can be a big challenge, because what they tell you is the reflection of what they have gone through. What makes us give the confirmation that they have been having such a healthy life and such healthy coping mechanisms? Not necessarily. It's the way they want their life to be and their comfort zone. That's what. If they can sort of like not try to define ourselves with that, it can really help. Can really help. But rather than isolating ourselves from such people. I hope it's a very brief answer. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I got a point. Thank you.
All right. Welcome.
Hi, I have a question actually.
Sanfa.
Do you think journaling or writing things down helps when someone can't express their feelings verbally? And this is more like something that introverts do because they don't usually go and share their feelings with others. So, do you think it helps them?
It definitely does, Sanfal. Thank you for that question. Like I said, our brain doesn't have any emotions, right? Sorry, our brain doesn't have any languages. So our emotions and how we project through behaviors is the only way we could determine what our language is. But translating those emotions into words can be very overwhelming in the beginning. We don't know which words are, but you're your best friend, right? You need to put it out through that book. Like either sometimes my clients, they like, I'm not a good writer. I don't know what to write. I'm like, you don't need to write. It could be sending voice notes to yourself. It could be like, recording your thoughts every night. You don't need to necessarily do it every night either. Some say like, oh my god, I don't know, like journaling stresses me out. I don't know where to start. I'm like, who is that to judge? Who would come and read your journal? It's you, right? So if you feel stressed by journaling, that means you're very judgmental towards yourself. It's not an essay where you need to have a structure, perfect start, perfect end. It's just, I always use these two words, verbal diary. Just put it out. Put it out. Sometimes it might be you writing, hey, today was such a messed up day. I don't know what to feel. I feel so frustrated. I don't know what went wrong, but I feel so angry at this. That may be more than enough, right? But again, I have to mention this journaling as well. The more you do it, it will feel so comforting towards you. That outlet is so important. But make sure that when you end the journal, the more you do it, end it in a way where you're not constantly just writing the negativity. Because it's like you talking to your toxic self and confirming those negative thoughts and emotions, just like using ChatGPT. That's a whole new thing. It can be very helpful, but it's the way you type it in, it's the way you get that confirmation from ChatGPT. You know you're having these thoughts because you have unhealthy and negative emotions. Don't try to confirm those. Get suggestions through ChatGPT. You can definitely use ChatGPT. But when it comes to journaling, try to end the journal through in a realistic note, not a positive note. Put out your negative thoughts, but then try to reflect on it. Keep in that emotional side. That's my suggestion. Again, a very deep topic, but that's the most brief way I could put it. Right?
Okay, thank you so much.
Um,
Is that it from everyone? Okay, Shafni.
Uh, Hi, am I audible?
Hello, hi. Yes, you're audible.
Am I audible or am I too loud? Okay. So I have this question. Normally, there are two types of people, I think, okay, in my point of view. So there are some people when they get depressed who would speak up and who would look for professionals. And the other type of people who would go through it solely and they don't want to speak up. And I know some people who gone through the depressed situation of their lifetime and all and who moved on from it. So my question is, do you think those who went through their problems lonely are like strong in their mindset or their mental health is strong? Do you think their mental health is strong or do you think they are dumb?
Good, very raw question. Shabni, such a raw question. Let me tell you it in this way. We cannot determine how strong or weak someone is about in the way they deal with the issues that come forward, because sometimes it's about the tolerance level. Somehow it could be the coping mechanisms that they have. But me in this question, Shafni, I have seen. I know people who do not talk it up. When the more they swallow it in, one way or another, it will come out one day. It could be in a year, it could be in
Yeah,
5, 10 years.
yeah. When they have a
Yeah.
drink, when they have a drink.
Yes. I mean, it could be about through the anger that you have, it could be about the people that you surround yourself with. It could be about you overworking yourself, trying to escape from the emotions that you're going through. These things might not directly say, like, oh, this is what he went through back then. That's why he's like this. We cannot say it like that. Only a professional can determine it through several sessions. But trust me, I can vouch for this. If you internalize things without talking it up, it doesn't determine how strong you are. It's just about you procrastinating that feeling. It will come out some way or another in different forms, right? And sometimes it's through illnesses. It's through gastritis, it's through migraines and cardiovascular issues and many other things. So we can never pinpoint that this is this, right? That's my answer to your question.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is anyone else there? All right, Maslama Jeffrey. Okay. I think that was by
Hi.
mistake. Yes,
Hi,
Maslama,
Maslama.
we can hear you.
I think that's an echo, right?
Maslama, could you try muting and unmuting yourself again?
Hi, is it good now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you clearly.
Why can't I hear you all?
Bye.
Okay,
Maslama,
I
can
hear
you hear
you.
me? All right.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Akmal, not I'm coming through Maslama's laptop.
Yes,
So,
Ahmed.
yeah. So, this is in general, I've spoken to a bunch of people, so men in general. So, they tell me that they feel an attack, like a multiple attack of emotions in many aspects, like financially, um, childhood trauma from their home. It could be from their wives or maybe their parents or siblings, as well as maybe also from their love life and whatnot. Yeah. So when they have a bunch of emotional attacks coming all together at the same time, they tend to feel how do I say? They tend to feel a bit numb and frustrated and all that. So if that person or or a bunch of individuals have to come out of such a situation, like how like what are like the necessary steps to get out of such a situation?
Again, that's no right way to answer this because if one of my clients come to me and they say the same thing, usually my strategy is to focus on the main problem that they are going through right now. Right now, for an example, if it's financial things, if it's like relationship issues, family conflicts, and so and so and so, definitely everything is really important, right? But I sort of like ask them to brief me everything bit by bit to me. And then I sort of get an understanding which is within his control and which are beyond his control. Sometimes, like, parental conflicts might not be within your control at all, but relationship issues could be, right? Then financial issues might not be, but to some certain extent, maybe you have very poor financial management, or there are certain things that you tolerate at your workplace that actually is within control or is not within your control. So we cannot find a resolution for everything all at once. We need to zoom out. We usually see the zoomed in version, right? I usually tell my clients to zoom out. So imagine this: you have a backpack and the zipper breaks, right? Everything crashes onto the floor. If you zoom in and see, you get so overwhelmed. But if you zoom out, get onto a chair and look at it, you see, okay, what's the most heavy? I need to get this. I can keep this in my hand. I can put this in my bag, or I have a safety pin. Da da da. You get a more clear picture. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to have a quick fix, right? It's all about prioritizing and see what's within your control and what's beyond your control. That's my biggest tip that I could give. Beyond that, there are certain things that are not within your control, but still stresses you out. Doesn't mean you have to let go and tolerate it. No, that's where you really need to talk about it and put it out and get the help from somebody else, like a professional, to see their suggestions in dealing with things. Because you see a very zoomed in version and you have so much of emotions, you might actually be blindsided. And like you said, you might actually feel numb towards certain things. So usually withdrawal and isolation is the only way to deal with these things. Right? But thank you for that question, because I know so many people, it's not just one thing. There are multiple things at once. They're unsure, like they feel like everything is crashing around them. My suggestion is that.
But I'm audible. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So you said withdrawal. Yeah. So when we withdraw and when we isolate ourselves, that can
Mhm.
affect the people around us, maybe our loved ones, the people who care for us, maybe we do care for them, but it's just the fact that we can't project our emotions towards them, so that may affect them. So how can we change that dynamic?
I think in many cases, people think when they try to isolate and everyone around them are like questioning what's going on, why are you like this? You're not meeting with us up and everything. Usually you don't try to explain anything. You think like the moment you say like, hey, I'm going through something, you need to talk about everything. But sometimes it could be that one friend who always reaches out to you. It could be one brief message that you send back saying like, hey man, I need a bit of space. I'm going through certain things. I will definitely talk to you about it. But yeah, I need to put this out. I'm just trying to struggle and see what I need to focus on right now. I will definitely be in touch with you. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to talk about it right then and there. But telling people that you're going through a challenging time is more than enough for the loved ones around you. So that takes you out of that isolation. But if you ignore the calls, text messages, and whenever your parents come talk to you, you just lock yourself up and try gaming and overworking yourself or oversleeping, then definitely things can definitely get aggravated because you have told your brain that there's nobody out there for me. The thing is, you have never given them the opportunity to be there for you. That's that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we have Dilmi Alvis.
Hi, hope I am audible.
Hi, Dilmi. Yes, you're audible.
Yes. So this is just speaking on behalf of my partner. So
Mm-hmm.
sorry if this sounds a bit too personal, but it's something regarding horoscopes that I want to ask about.
All
So
right.
very
That's
recently, he had to encounter this like the family background is a bit into these horoscope things, like
mm-hmm.
and into more and also from a Buddhist family. So
Mm-hmm.
considering this, so like few one or two person just mentioned that he will be a bit like he needs to be pushed for certain things to get done. He will not do everything like properly, and with those things, like some they spoke something negative, and
Mm-hmm.
he himself is not believing in those things. He believe like we can work things out and we can change these things, but considering this, as I mentioned, the family things, he was like the family is like very looking at it in a very different way. Like they are doubting him and those things. So
Mm-hmm.
as a partner, like I also had to face this issue. Like how can I make him like it's like he reduces his self-confidence and all, like what he should do, how he should answer. Like always he's getting doubt, like he has this self-doubt always.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like a few kind of guide, like what to do in these kind of situations. Like I know horoscope is something like a very like it's many can have different ideas, but I still want to know like how this can be like I'm not personally giving into horoscope, but
Mm-hmm.
how we can like how we can get rid of this family thing.
Again, tell me that as well. It's about us being Asians and giving so much of priority towards the parents' emotions and thoughts and feelings that they have, right?
Yes.
Again, again, this is a very deep topic. I cannot answer this in one line, but what I can tell you here is, tell me, I feel like you're trying to control this within yourself, but your boyfriend is going through something. Sometimes you might not be any help of this because if you could help this out, this would have been resolved already, right? But the fact that he has self doubts and you also get stressed with it, my best suggestion is to sort of go again go to a mental health professional and talk it out even through couple therapy sessions, because if you all try to solve this out within yourself, it can actually make you all get stuck and repress yourself, try not to talk about certain things. You can be so agitated in the relationship, right? Because internally this bothers you because some of parents after all, but their feelings also matters, but we also know it's just a piece of paper, right? So
Yes.
again, there's no right or wrong way. It's all about you both coming together and having a strong foundation. This foundation is very weak right now because it's based on the parents' choices and beliefs. So to do that, you both need to go to couple therapy and talk about this individually, and the therapist will help you put this together and talk to both of you to see, like, come into one agreement, one sort of like goal of, okay, regardless, we are going to work through this, but we have these doubts, we have to resolve this.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, welcome, Delmi.
All right, then I shall end the Q&A session before it gets too late. I'm really sorry, Mrs. Rashmi.
No
Anyways,
worries.
thank you so much for everyone who shared and engaged. And once again, big thank you to you, Mrs. Rashmi, for responding so thoughtfully. So before we officially conclude this, I'd love to capture this beautiful moment, and I would kindly request everyone to turn on their cameras so we could capture this for the story behind the smile face too. So guys, just turn on your camera, yeah. And if I'm not wrong, one person from our side will be taking a picture. This is for everyone who is in the meeting right now. I would kindly request you to turn on your camera. I hope everyone has turned on the camera, if I'm not wrong, because I'm not able to see it. Dhanati, is everything done?
Yes, Sean, done. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
No worries. Okay, so at the end, we hope this session helped break a little more of that silence around men's mental health and inspired all of us to listen with more empathy, I would say, to check in on each other and create spaces where, as you said, vulnerability feels more safe and accepted. So on behalf of the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens, we'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, Mrs. Rashmi, for sharing your insight, warmth, and even expertise, I would say, at this point with us
You're
tonight,
welcome.
and to everyone who engaged with us today. So let's continue these conversations beyond today. Let's not limit it by today. We'll make sure us being individuals who were at this session to pass these messages on to other people, because every smile has a story, and sometimes understanding that story can make a whole new difference to someone else. So, and thank you so much, everyone, and hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, team. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Sean.
Always.